Hello guys, welcome to Pigmented Taboo, where we
Speak your thoughts.
And today we have a very special guest. He's a sexual educator, among many things. And also obviously my friend. And also a whore like me, twinning.
Like me too.
And yeah, Topher.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Welcome to the family, babe.
Yeah, it's
Literally.
nice. I feel like I'm in This Morning studios. It's like nice.
No, literally.
You know what's funny? So yesterday we went to Hardcore Live. So this actually introduced the topic that we're about to talk about.
Yeah.
So we went to Hardcore Live, yeah. And the thing that what I said to Wendy was, I feel like that event is for black guys because it's an R&B event, kind of. But I think
Hardcore Life is R&B.
yeah, they play R&B, pop, hip hop, yeah,
Beyonce.
a
would love
lot
it.
of Beyonce.
I see.
But I found it that black guys that go there for white men.
guys. Yeah.
So I was even telling Wendy yesterday, it looked as though all the black guys were like performing to kind of get picked by a white guy.
It's funny.
Like
we-
that's what it was given.
It's funny you even mentioned that because when I first got to London, when I was leaving Nigeria, I bought tickets to Bootylicious and to Hardcore Life. And then I got here, and then the guy I was talking to at that point was like, "Oh, Hardcore Life is not for you." I'm like, "What do you mean it's not for me?" He's like, "Do you like white men?" I'm like, "Yeah, I don't mind white men." He's like, "Okay."
Oh,
Yeah,
so
that's when I first got here.
so that's the thing then.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. So you could tell that they were, because when me and Wendy walked in, I even said to Wendy, "Ooh, why are they giving me evils? Like, as if we're competing for the same white
Competition.
man." And it's like, babe,
But it's funny that you say this because out of the three of us, I think I'm the only one that doesn't even date white men.
which I
You-
think,
you-
I mean, I don't know why you say that because you was
In the past,
but you said that
what?
you went crazy over him.
Over
remember?
who?
Over that white boy.
He was Cuban.
white Cuban.
Okay. He was Cuban.
He was a white Cuban.
Okay. I know who he's talking about. That was
Yeah.
when I first got here. And yeah, it was a great situationship. I don't know what to call it. But over time living in London, I have stopped dating interracially. I don't even date Asian. I don't date Latino. I just date black men. And that's because of my experience in London and how I've seen the way that black men, I always say this, I feel like black men, yes, we're not the only ones that date interracially. Everyone dates interracially.
Yeah.
But I think black men are the only men that when they do date interracially, they exclude other black men. Does that make sense? Like,
I
they're
get what
like,
you're saying.
I prefer white guys. I don't date black men at all. I prefer Asian guys. I don't date black men at all. And I feel like black men are the only ones that do that. So I think part of my rebellion against dating interracially is that I just feel that there should be someone or people that prefer, I don't know how to explain it. Like, it sounds, growing up as a gay black man, I didn't see a lot of representation when it came to gay black relationships. And one thing that I try to prioritize, especially now that Pigmented Taboo is popping off, I want to be that kind of, example for little gay black boys. So that's my personal reason of not dating interracially. I have dated interracially in the past. I've met amazing men of all races, but now where I am now as a 31-year-old gay black man, I just date black.
But are you open to it?
Dating interracial again?
Yeah.
No, I'm not. No.
Really?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what he's saying.
I'm
He's
not-
like closed off to it
yeah.
because of a greater purpose, I'm guessing.
Exactly. And
But then also, I mean, you need to live for yourself at the end of the
exactly.
day.
Someone was telling me that, like, how can I carry that burden? I'm like,
Yeah.
it's not just about carrying the burden. It's just about trying to understand myself as a person and understanding the way society views me as a gay black man. And I know you date interracially. You had a recent situation. Do you want to talk about that?
It was hardly dating.
I mean, he took you out.
Correction. Guys take me out all the time.
And then he flew you out of the city as well. He took
Yeah, guys do that for me all the time. Guys treat me very nicely.
you- Okay.
As they should.
But how was that situation for you?
But it wasn't so for me. It wasn't a new situation because, as you guys know, I grew up in Italy.
Yeah.
So growing up in Italy, I was I was the only black kid almost all the time. So but I find white Mediterranean men very attractive because they're familiar to me.
Yeah.
Like it's like home.
And they are. Italian men are beautiful.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So me dealing with a white man, to be fair, he was my first English man.
This recent guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So me dealing with a white man, it's not really like anything like, oh my days, this is new. So I don't feel any type of way about it. Like as of right now, I feel like my husband is a Black American man.
Why?
I just feel like me and Black American men, we just go together. Like
Fair enough.
they understand my personality, and I just think that we would gel really well together. I mean, only God knows, but
Yeah,
I
get
feel
what you mean,
like-
because like I feel like Black Americans in general, they're more open with their sexuality than British people, and I think it's just the whole
100%.
British culture, like everywhere.
and they're
Reserved.
embraced, literally they, because obviously you guys know that I like to wear like lingerie,
Yeah.
and I like to, so as much as obviously I'm a butch queen, so as much as I present feminine, sometimes I might be masculine.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? And I feel like Black Americans do really appreciate
that more,
their
the
duality.
duality.
So that's why I say that. But then, having said that, I will never exclude someone from dating just because of their race. That I will never do that.
Fair enough.
So I've been with, and also because we live in London, we live in a melting pot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I loved about it when I first got
silly
here.
to just cut out a
When I first got here, my first year, I made a purpose to try and sleep with as many ethnicities as I could. So I,
oh my God, I know a boy that
like
did that.
flags. I do like flags. I'm like, oh, I've gotten like this.
You're lying. There was a boy.
So much
No,
fun.
like
There's
a
this
little
boy that, babe, there's this boy that came to work. I think he only worked one shift. And he showed me his list of hookups and
Different
the different
countries.
flags that he's
I remember when I hooked up with this guy from Lithuania.
Literally.
I hooked up with this guy from Lithuania. I was surprised because he was. Yeah.
Ooh, Lithuanians have big.
Yeah. I was. Yeah.
Lithuanian, Polish.
Yeah.
Romanian.
What about you, one day?
Yeah, Romanian always.
I'm like, I don't have, I would say this, I don't have like a racial type. I feel like for me, it's like, because I grew up, the town that I grew up in is like mainly white. Like it's
You grew up in South Africa, yeah?
no, here.
Here, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like, I've always grown up around like white boys and stuff like that. So that's always been my first kind of like
Yeah.
image.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like all my
Yeah.
friends were like, you know, white.
Yeah.
So like I grew up just seeing white boys all the time.
Yeah.
So, but now I think now that I've got older, like it's I find black boys so attractive. Like black men are just so attractive.
Men
to
in
me.
general are just beautiful, like
Yeah.
regardless of the race.
Yeah,
and I
men are
think
just beautiful in
my
general.
stance is just very political and just
That makes sense. That's what I was thinking even before, because
It's
I did a
political.
lot of thinking before this episode, because I just didn't wanna like say the wrong thing or just
Yeah.
talk. Because you guys know I just be talking.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, like for this
Yeah.
for this episode, I kind of actually wanna think about the topic.
Yeah. Based on what we discussed so far, do you date interracially?
Yes, I do. Like my partner is black.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it's like a provocative topic. I know me and Kojo were talking about it. It's like it's not something I'm scared of talking about, because I feel like the more that, especially like white gays, the more that we kind of, I don't want to touch that. I'm not scared of it, because I know where my head and my heart is. And I feel like when people avoid it, or when people ask me like questionable things, I'm like, I don't want you around my partner.
How did you meet? How did you guys meet?
Grindr.
Okay.
Of course, yeah.
So you can find love on Grindr. everyone.
Yeah, classy, right? But we met originally just for sex, and it was just like immediate, like intellectual bonds. Like it was like just like when with sex, there's some things that go in the profound box.
Yeah.
There's some that go in the totally superficial. And I met him, and I was like, wow, like he really like engaged me.
Yeah.
And we sat there talking for hours, and I was like, oh my god, I was just expecting, like a pumped and go.
Yeah.
But it was just a really nice connection. I've had that in the past, but with him it was different. And I was like, okay.
Is he the first interracial relationship you've been in? Or?
No. I mean, from my first boyfriend was black, and that's when I was 15.
Do you?
Ooh. Nice.
No, that was a very discreet relationship. Like he was DL, yeah.
Who's DL?
Oh.
Yeah, I have a lot of experience with that. That's kind of like my.
And how did you manage like being in a relationship with someone DL? I mean, I had a situation with a DL man before as well, but like how did you? Because obviously you're out and you're quite vocal and you've always had a platform.
Yeah, I think I don't mind it because I'm so public. Like I talk about my sexuality very publicly. Like I talk about my asshole on the internet. I write about it in magazines. So like it's nice to have. I prefer to keep that private. Like I don't post them on social media.
Yeah.
Even back in the day, I never really like. I'll post if something really big happens, or like maybe there's a photograph that I really love or something. But I try not to. But there's various reasons I don't. Number one is my privacy, and number two is because of when you are like a white gay and you post a picture of a black guy, these, you know, these comments happen that I'm not happy with, and I'm constantly like combating that.
Yeah.
And I don't want him to read it. So it's like a protective thing, but it's like, am I also paying into the problem by not? But then my partner now is very private. So he doesn't really care. Like, but I don't need to be like, I'm not someone who wants to hold hands with someone on Oxford Street. I don't like public displays of affection.
I'm the same.
I'm happy you mentioned the thing about posting pictures, because especially on Twitter, I think a couple weeks ago, some designer posted a picture on Instagram, and there was like a black man on top of him. And then there was a whole discourse on the fetishization. So I'm happy like you're aware of how that could sometimes be portrayed. But then I also understand how you said that you want to help fight that aspect of it.
Yeah.
So like, how do you think it would be like a good balance between letting people know, like, yes, interracial relationships can be authentic, and then also protecting that or preventing that whole discourse on like the fetish side of everything?
I think it's really complicated. I'm just talking from my experience. I mean, I would hear things I'm assuming that you guys wouldn't hear. You know, I have comments made to me that wouldn't be made to you. And like, for example, like I've posted pictures of me and my partner in the past, and I've literally had gays, like white gays, say to me like, I really want a black boyfriend. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what does that mean? Like, I mean, do you want a partner? Do you want someone who's an intellectual match? Do you want someone who's going to like match you financially, like who you can live with? But I think it's, for me personally, I've chosen to keep it kind of off my grid, so to speak, for a few reasons. Number one is because I share so much of my life with the internet, and I have done for like almost 20 years. And number two, like, I don't like to bring those comments in front of him, because he does read my comments and stuff, and it's not pleasant for him. And I don't want to make him feel objectified or fetishized, because like I said, it's a profound connection. It's not a superficial thing for me. But there are people who will look at it, and obviously because of the way I look, like I'm not just like a white guy, like I am very white. Do you mean I'm Irish? Like you can see my veins, like I'm white, blonde and blue eyes. So I just try and combat it in my own way, which is kind of keeping it discreet on my feed, how I post about my life. And I have a private Instagram where I'll share stuff.
Do you like, when was the first time you guys had that kind of conversation about your relationship and how people view your relationship? Because I'm sure that was like,
oh my god, we've logged. I mean, this is a thing again, like what I think more white people need to do, especially white gays, is we need to address the differences, and like where, you know, the whole thing of I don't see color.
It's just bullshit.
That really that does piss me off.
Because it's like
it's intellectually dishonest, because I have massively logged heads with men I've dated in the past, like black men, because there's two topics that always comes down to me. Number one is religion and like magical thinking, and number two is masculinity. So we've argued a lot in the past about like because I'm atheist, I'm very against magical thinking, and I've logged heads because I'm dating somebody who
magical thinking.
So there's one story I can tell, which is kind of like, for me, this is where I realized that I need to do like my own, I'm guessing like a person in 2020 posting a black square on the grid right now. Like I realized I was doing my own work, because there was a situation where my partner and I had split. And in the split, my friend from America had sent me a joke voodoo doll, which is it was a novelty item. It was just like, the pin in this, like if you want to like make him shit himself, put the pin in here. And I just like, you laugh at it, and I put it on top of my computer. And I was months and months later, we'd got back together. I was actually organizing a photo shoot for the cover of Gay London Life. I was on the shoot, and my partner called me, and he was like, what the fuck is this? There's a fucking voodoo doll in my house. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about?
Is he African?
He's Nigerian, he's Igbo.
To be fair, that's the one thing. Us West Africa, we're quite superstitious. I can't even help it. Like, I'm very superstitious.
But that was one moment where I was like, fuck. Like, because in that, my reaction was, what the hell are you talking about? Like, I'm not doing goddamn magic on you. Like, I don't do magic. Like, if I was doing magic, I wouldn't be living in my fucking flat. Like, I'd be in a townhouse in fucking Knightsbridge or something. No, I wouldn't go. I wouldn't be in London. I'd be in Cork. But it was that moment where I was like, because my initial reaction was just to brush it off, be like, this is ridiculous, don't be so stupid. And then I got home and we had a conversation. He was like, no, you don't realize, like, that was one of the moments where I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like I've become that. I don't want to become that person. So I was like, let me just and we had a conversation about like, his like family's beliefs in magic. And I was like, okay, like that's something I learned from, so to speak. And I think but I think it's important. That's why I want to say this on camera and be recorded. Is like I think it's important that we address those differences because they do come up. We do. And that's another example of like seeing color. Like my family's cultural context, we wouldn't be talking about magic. You know, we'd just be Irish dancing and drinking ourselves to death. But you know, it was one of those moments where I was like, oh, okay, this is like one of the you know, those moments where you learn from.
I'm happy you had. I'm happy you shared that experience because one of the things I always think about when it comes to interracial dating is like the culture gap.
Yeah.
Because even as I say, like I prefer to date black men, I still go further and say I prefer to date African men because the way I grew up as an African is different from the way Caribbean men grew up. So I think at the end of the day, what I want in a partner is to be with someone who understands my upbringing and vice versa. But like your story has kind of taught me that you can still meet someone with different upbringings, and as long as you're open to learn, you can learn from it.
Yeah,
no, that's true. I feel like that's the beauty of like interracial. Obviously, I don't want this to be an episode where like I don't want this to be perceived as I'm glorifying it or like diminishing it.
Yeah, we're just talking about the points.
Yeah, I'm just giving points. A good thing about interracial dating is also that you learn another culture and you take it as your own. Like for example, I love seeing like Asian and Nigerian weddings or like Indian Nigerian. Like, I love it. Like you know what I mean? It's like just such a rich, like rich cultures coming together that I think it's a shame to kind of like limit yourself just because because a lot of people actually they do date interracially like on the low, but then to the group of friends they don't want to admit it. Which is quite sad.
I've been on the receiving end.
Yeah, like we're in 2026. It's kind of sad that you can't be like, oh yeah, this is my boyfriend, and the boyfriend is of another ethnicity, just because you're not gonna be deemed as pro-black. Yeah, and also we have to like, remember that the black population in the UK is not even that high. So
I think in London we live in a bubble.
Do you know what I mean?
You don't realize until like I was in the year before last. I went to. I can't remember the bloody name of the town. It's where Shakespeare was born. Anyway, my friend from LA was here and she really wanted to go to Shakespeare's hometown. And I was like, okay. And we went there and I was like, oh my God, it's so white. Literally. And even I come from Eltham in southeast London, which is like white nationalist racist town. So I grew up like completely white. Oh, there was one black boy at my school. So so for me as an adult to go back to like seeing it, it was like, oh my God, I can really feel it. And I'm like, you know, I'm the whitest person in most rooms I go into, and I felt it, and I was like, oh my God, this is like, because in London we live in a bubble.
We do.
You think that everyone else is going to be as. Another reason why I try not to post too much, especially with him, is because it's easy to get comfortable in the bubble, and then you post something about your partner, and then someone comments something really harsh, or really like.
You said like he reads the comments as well, so.
Yeah, and like I've had like people. I mean, I don't want to say anything offensive, but I've had like. Immediately as I've posted him, I've had people be like, oh, because I'm very sexual in my career. Yeah. It's natural, unfortunately, for a lot of people who interact with me to be very sexual in how they communicate with me and how they view my life. They're like, oh, you love that BBC. And I'm like, whoa, like, no, I didn't say that. I did not say that. Like,
do you, have you dated white men as well?
Yeah.
When, I don't know how to word this. Would you say, when you met your partner, was it at the back of your mind like, oh, this is a black man that I'm going to date, or you just connected with him as a person? Does it ever come up?
Yeah, it comes up. Yeah, of course, it definitely comes up. And I think like I said, it's intellectually dishonest to not address it because it's like I am dating somebody who, and then I think because of my career, and obviously I work in the intimate industry, and I psychoanalyze the depth of everything that I do in my work. Because we're talking about, I don't know how much you know about my work, but I work with a lot of sex toys and promotions. So I psychoanalyze everything. It's just like we were just talking before we started filming. Yeah. I'm fascinated by the psychology of everything. So as soon as we were like being serious, I was like, well, obviously, you know, my career is very public, not very public, but it's semi-public. I do get shared around, literally and figuratively. And yeah, we had conversations about, you know, you're dating me, and I'm like white Irish. I come from like a very like intense Irish family, massive family.
But also, sorry, I don't mean to cut you. Do you feel like because you're white, he embraces your femininity more? Because one thing that happens with being black and gay is that when you date, you're automatically expected to be masculine.
Yeah.
So say, for example, even when you interact interracially, so I always consider myself a verse bottom, but it's going to a point where I've dealt with different ethnicity to the point where now I'm fully verse.
Yeah.
Because
They want you to talk.
they masculinize you based off your ethnicity.
God, it's really weird.
Based on your race, basically, being black.
Yeah.
So do you feel, and also a lot of black men claim that when they want to date, so they have different standards for black and white.
Of course.
So when you're black, they expect you to be masculine or be a man, we're men. But when you're white, it's okay for you to be a princess. And
Sorry to even cut you off. I even had a situation like that where I was talking to someone on Grindr. He was Nigerian and he was like, "Oh, you're not feminine. Only twinks." I'm like,
he said that you said that you could be feminine.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh no, you can't be feminine because you're not white."
Exactly. And I was like, that's when I first started looking at Grindr differently. I was like, okay, wait, people are actually thinking this way. But yeah, sorry, Topher. It's just, how do you feel about that?
Does he embrace your femininity?
Your masculinity? Like, do you have a masculine side? Does he embrace that?
I mean, I'm not really that masculine, if I'm honest. I wouldn't be very persuasive as a masculine. But no, I do think, that was kind of our entry point, because when we first spoke, I'll be completely transparent with you. Like, he kind of saw me as like a cross-dresser adjacent kind of person. But having gotten to know him, like, and obviously we've talked about each other's sexual history, he has dated a lot of very feminine. He's dated like someone who was on RuPaul's Drag Race who's black, and so I haven't had that many conversations on that tone with him. I mean, I would, but it's not something that's come up for me. But again, that might be another example of things that I need to be asking about. Does he embrace that side of me? Yeah, but it's kind of like the whole kind of part of me. I've always been like kind of like effeminate and drawn to effeminate fashion, and like I'm always drawn to things that are more androgynous. But I think that's, with me, it comes from growing up obsessed with David Bowie and Madonna.
I see the David Bowie.
I see them both actually.
But that's like, they were like my antithesis as a kid. Like, I was obsessed because I had no friends in school. I was like that typical out like, you know, gay kid on the sidelines. So my fixation was on them, and that's kind of influenced my style, so to speak, and how I.
One day, what about you? Because amongst the three of us, I'd say you're the most androgynous.
I was actually going to add on that, because me and Kojo were even having a conversation the other day when we went out. So for me, when it comes to dating, I feel like when it comes to interracial dating, I'm embraced more for my authenticity than I would be if I was when I date black guys.
Like, so white guys embrace you.
Yeah, like white, Asian, Latino. They love the fact that I'm feminine.
Yeah.
They embrace the fact that I'm feminine. They get turned on by the fact that I'm feminine. Like, even when we go out to, like, you know, Fi or whatever, like, guys will come up to me and be like,
you're so pretty.
You're pretty, blah 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 blah. Or they'll say like, are you trans? Like, it's very intentional that they like the fact that I'm very, very feminine. As a black guy as well. But I think when it comes to when I date black guys, I don't feel like I have to tone it down. What I used to before, like, I feel like I have to chill out a little bit, like tone it down, go to the gym, get a little bit masculine, because then I feel like I won't attract my own people, because there's this idea that I think, especially in London as well, like, I've seen a lot of people that have transitioned from being quite feminine to then now being quite masculine in the way that they present themselves, but their femininity in the way that they carry themselves is still there. But the way that they dress, the way that they pose in pictures, the way that they kind of like interact with other people.
Everyone does that neck back thing, don't they?
I literally, like, sometimes I will see that person, I'm like, you've fallen into that trap of like, I need to be this way in order to attract.
Because I think there's a real magic to it. Like, if you own that part of yourself, like the you know, whatever, however you want to call it, or whatever you want to name it. Like, with me personally, I don't think I'll ever change. But then I don't necessarily have that pressure on me, because I've always been like I think, again, like, I reference being a bullied kid, like, ostracized. Like, I was like, right, fuck this. As soon as I became an adult, I was like, right, I'm going to be myself. I'm going to dress how I want. Which is maybe easy for me to say, but I think it's beautiful when people do hold on to it, because it's so unique. You know, and I think, I don't know if, like, now you see, like, again, I work in the adult industry. We're seeing a massive uptake now in more masculine presenting guys, like buying lingerie, wearing lingerie.
Of course.
You know, doing things that are cross-dress or adjacent, or just like being like a butch guy in stockings or whatever. there is a need for it. And I think that once you grant someone the permission to express that side of themselves, most people will run with it. Because I think a lot of us, especially like gay boys, like not to stereotype, I think many of us are stereotypes.
Of course.
Once we're granted the permission to like play with the doll or, you know, or be the doll or, you know, put some stockings on, like it's fun because it's, you know, it's forbidden.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I feel like I think black boys in general, we don't have as much grace to explore our feminine side. And I think a lot of people that date interracially, especially femme black men, why they prefer dating interracially is because of what Wande has explained now, that you get more love and more appreciation from other races than from black races. And a lot of interracial relationships that you look at, it's either a femme black guy and a mask white guy, or a femme white guy and a mask. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
It's never a situation.
I've also seen femme black guy with another femme white guy.
Okay.
Like not like, because for me femme is an umbrella, like that you go from 0 to 100.
So when I say femme, I mean like androgynous, you wear makeup.
Oh, okay, that's what you mean.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because I know your femme and my femme are completely different femmes.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
So when I say femme, like androgynous, you wear makeup. So it's usually one race is the femme, and then the other race is more mass presenting.
Yeah.
In the relationships I've seen, at least.
Yeah.
I've never seen a situation where there's like two androgynous, like androgynous white guy, androgynous black guy. I've never seen that.
And
Like, sorry, babe. Like for me, like this conversation is really uncomfortable for me. I don't know why.
Why?
I don't
It's
know.
personal.
And like I feel like it's just so like the conversation is awkward to me because it's kind of like I love girl turn that bitch off.
Sorry guys. Oh my god.
Grind
the
up,
magic
popping
moment.
on. Like what's going on?
that's your hookup for later.
Bitch.
Settled.
But yeah, no, I find it really uncomfortable because I really love black men, and I do see myself being like in a long-term relationship with a black man and settling down and getting married and having that kind of like that dream.
Yeah.
But I generally feel like it will never happen
Because they don't love you the way.
Yeah, because they don't.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, I'm such a lovable person.
Yeah.
I'm fucking amazing.
Yeah, you
Literally.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm fucking lit. I'm joking. But like, I generally feel like because of the outside noises, they will never pull themselves, because I feel like, especially being black and African or being black and Caribbean, we live our whole lives in this idea of what everyone else is thinking.
Yeah, I was about to
Do you
say
know what I
that.
mean? Like it comes from our parents and our grandparents.
Literally.
It's like you have to be a certain way in order to
Yeah, you have to be a man.
be accepted in society. And I think that filters down in the black community, especially in London as well. Like Koja was saying, like Americans are different because Americans they only know America. They have no connections to
the culture.
Yes,
to the
That's true.
culture.
Yeah.
So they grow up around,
I'm sorry to even cut you off, but what even is the culture? Because I was having this conversation on Twitter. I was like, people being black and gay I think is very radical, because when people find out I'm gay, they're like, oh, it's against our culture, it's against our religion. But when I think about it, like what religion, what culture? Like this religion, this culture was taught to us, if we're being honest.
It was colonized.
Exactly. So it's like that religion, like fuck your God, basically. Like, do you get what I mean? Like that's not my God. But yeah, so I get what you're saying as well, but like we need to start thinking about it from that aspect. Like, why can't we just be who we are without this?
Exactly. Without holding you back from dating. Because also I was on Twitter the other day and I came across a video of that guy with long hair. He's like a fashion guy. Loroch. And he said that he doesn't see himself being in a relationship with anyone for his whole life. Like he said that he doesn't date, he doesn't see himself to be in a relationship. And I believe it's because of him being feminine. So like femininity is so demonized within the black community, but then it's celebrated in other ethnicities.
Yeah.
So then that's what breeds resentment for black, like gays to be kind of like
exactly.
do you know what I mean?
Because I see the conversation all the time on Twitter. It's like, oh, the black guys don't love us, and it's true. Like, I'm someone as well who I can say I've been a propagator of that, because I do like masculine presenting men, and I do prefer, so I've been as well guilty of not dating feminine men. I've slept with feminine men. I've been with feminine men, but I've never been able to like see myself long term with a feminine man. And I know it's probably because of that trauma. And I'm trying to work through it. I'm trying to like get better. But at the end of the day, we have a lot of trauma.
Sorry, I'm gonna let you finish, but I even got a comment. So you know the video that we posted about homophobia in the Black community? There was a comment by, I don't know his ethnicity, but I'm assuming he was white, and he was like, what happened to black men? Black men used to be the most masculine.
Oh yeah, because he saw us looking more femme.
He was black men used to be the most masculine men out there. Now this is what the media is representing black men to be, and he thought that it was a shame. And it was like, we exist as well. Like black men are allowed to be feminine. Black men are allowed to be. Do you know what I mean?
It must be frustrating to have it limited, like your self-expression. Like that's again things I try and understand. Like I can express myself in ways that, you know, perhaps you can't in the same way and get accepted. But it's just about like really, and again, I'm using that fucking word that everyone uses, just listening. Because like hearing this conversation, I'm like, there are cogs ticking in my head. Like even the question you asked me, like, is it easier because I'm the, you know, white effeminate one? Did they accept me? It wouldn't have really entered my mind to have questioned that. Like I do know for a fact in the past he has dated like very effeminate black men, like one who I said was quite a very fucking famous drag queen, makes a lot more money than I do. You should have picked that one. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, like there's moments like when you're saying about how, because again, people will say things to me that they wouldn't say to you free. You know, and I'll hear comments and they'll be like, I just really like really masculine black guys. I really like DL guys. And I'm like, DL, I don't like. I've had people bitch at me for using that, like saying DL. It's very difficult for me not to say it because it's been said to me since I was 15 years old. You know, it's so imprinted into my. It's a like.
It's a thing.
Yeah,
it's a thing. Yeah,
that's what happens, I guess. But like when people mix and cultures mix and like references mix, but I've been bollocked quite badly for saying it, and I'm like, well. It's very difficult for me not to. Like when someone said something to you since you were like, I'm 36 now, so it's been like 21 years since, you know, I remember the first time I heard about it, I was like, what does that mean? You know?
But you look amazing for 36, Trevor.
Yeah, literally.
Oh, thank you.
You look amazing.
And in my head, I was thinking 36.
Yeah, 36.
I'm 400 and twink years.
I thought it was, I thought it was like 28 or something.
The
Thank
funny
you.
thing with
I'm
the,
glad that's on video. I'm going to play that back.
the thing with the DL culture, even in itself, is very. I've noticed as well. A lot of DL men, they avoid other black men, and they prefer to date or to sleep with.
Because they claim that they like black.
You look like my brother.
Yeah, you look like my brother.
You remind me of my family. Like, and I'm like, I don't know you.
But then that's what black straight men also say to you when they say that when they don't date black women because they say she reminds me of my auntie or she reminds me of my
something. Yeah, but I think also it's because the chances of you knowing the friend or the family is very far. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, if he's going to be DL, likelihood is that he's going to go way out somewhere,
so he doesn't get
found out.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, like, have the relationships in your life, like family and friends, have they been affected by you dating black guys?
If I'm honest, no. Like, I wish I could have something with more depth to say to that. I just don't. But I think it helps that I come from a very liberal family. Like, I hate that fucking word liberal, but it's true. Like I come from a big Irish family and my parents are very like well-traveled, very politically left-leaning. You know, there wasn't, but then where I grew, it was a weird contrast when I grew up. So I was born and raised in Eltham, which, do you know if you heard about the murder of Stephen Lawrence?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a very famous racist murder that happened, and it happened outside of my front door. So I was 3 years old when that happened, and we had television cameras. So I think I kind of got a crash course in it because my parents had to explain to us why there was always TV crews outside the house, and we ended up moving our house because of it.
Yeah.
And I think that, again, helped my brain kind of align because my parents having to explain to this child what happened outside of our home. And that, again, I think kind of aligned my brain in a more like open way. And same with my parents. Like, the only reason we were back, because my parents didn't want to live in Eltham, it was a financial reason because we lived somewhere else, and then my dad lost all his money because of a bad business deal, and then we had to move back to this house. And I think my dad especially was kind of like making sure that I was very like worldly I know I hate using that word, but my dad's very well traveled, and he wanted to make sure that I was open to everything and everyone.
Yeah.
And there wasn't toxic language within my house. Outside my front door, yes. At school, yes. Like, they were incredibly racist. Like, again, I come from, I don't know if you want to put yourself through it, like, feel free to research Eltham in the 90s. Like, it was a white nationalist racist town. Like, we had Nazis, we had BNP,
Which is crazy because, like, because I moved from Italy, and the UK was always presented as a non-racist like country, until you move here and you realize that the racism here and the racism in Italy is very different. So the racism here is very like very polite, it's very like nice in a way. So you
micro
racism. You don't really feel it too tough. And if you're coming from an environment like Italy, where it's like
in your
straight up
face,
N-word,
like America,
go back to your country and all this, it's like you feel like it's not there. But then when you say that there was a whole nationalist town, it's like, wow,
it's changed.
I mean, Eltham itself is like a microcosm, and have you ever seen the Simpsons film where they have like a glass orb on top of the city?
Oh yes.
I used to have this reference where I would say someone needs to put a glass orb over Eltham until it fixes itself, because I moved out when I was 15 and 4 months, so I got my first job at 15 and 3 months. I got my first paycheck, which was a literal check, which kind of shows how old I am. And I moved immediately to Brentford in West London because my friend's dad had a flat, and we moved into his flat. And I got out of there as quickly as I could because it was a really traumatic place to be. And I think that kind of crash course in that ignorance and like how I would call it evil opened my mind up I mean, obviously my parents and stuff, and the way that, I mean, coming from an Irish family as well, like we have a little bit of a different cultural context to British people. Whereas like my family history is way more mixed. Like my family came here to London in 1952. Which I think is 4 years after Windrush, or maybe 6 years after Windrush. And my grandparents, when they came here, weren't really accepted by British people.
Yes, I was going to say that, like, because didn't the Irish as well get like racism from the actual British people too?
Yeah, and I think for my family in particular, just because my family come from Cork, and it's a very strong Irish accent, like it's a very intense Irish accent, and like they couldn't like, you know, go under the radar. So when my grandmother came here, for example, she couldn't get a job anywhere, and
because of her accent.
Yeah, and the only place she got a job was in a hearing aid factory wrapping boxes.
Because you couldn't hear.
she was just wrapping the boxes. But it was like, I think again that and then being told these stories from a young age kind of helps formulate your brain in a more like fair and kind way, because you realize like what your family had been through, and you don't want to be, you know, I'm not saying I'm perfect, of course I'm not. I mean, there's definitely going to be things that I've thought or seen, or, you know, microaggressions that I've I mean, it's impossible. There's no way that I can, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to have this conversation, because I get really fucking sick of sanctimonious like left people who are like, one moment in time that I found really informed me was, do you remember during COVID, obviously BLM, etc.
Yeah.
Everyone got on a soapbox, and during that time, I really started to mix with very big political people. I was like hanging out with the Royal Vauxhall. My friend Ava did a lot of political shows at the Royal Vauxhall Tavern, so I was mixing with literal like late people in Labour, very famous political influencers, like journalists. And the one thing that stuck out to me is people being excited to speak about how liberal and open-minded they are.
Of course.
But
Savior.
Rather than, and it's like, that was one of my most informed experiences, where I was like, so much of this is bullshit.
Yeah.
And like trying to separate myself from that, and just trying to like live, and just like thinking of myself as an individual human. And like, obviously I've dated I've been in love twice in my life, and then both of those times have been with Black men. And that obviously informs your soul. Like that changes everything about you, because it's love.
Yeah.
You know, it changes the way you watch films.
Because I was about to ask, when do you think, so there's a fine line between preference and fetish. I was going to ask you, when do you think you cross that line? And I think you just answered the question without me even asking, because like you, like, it's not about his physical appearance, it's about how he makes you feel.
Yeah. And like,
so, you know, as opposed to many, because I've had a lot of experiences where I wasn't even dating them, but I was like seeing them, hookups. And a lot of times it's once you've had sex,
It's over.
yeah, the whole
Yeah.
interest
Yeah.
and the whole
Just
magic
dies.
is vanished. You
Yeah.
know, so I feel like that's when.
I mean, I have obviously had sexual interactions with black guys that have been purely sexual,
Yeah,
but I wouldn't say like if I'm just going to be completely honest, I've never looked at a guy and thought, oh, he's got a big black cock. But I was like, first of all, that would make me cringe.
Yeah,
But no, just
literally.
I think, but again, it's just maybe being raised the way I was raised in London. Like my first boyfriend, like obviously that's massively informative. Like when I was 15 years old, and like I was like swept off my feet by this guy, and that when I think of him, I don't think of like giving him blowjob in his car. I think of how he made me feel. I think of like how, like, because when you're a gay boy and you have your first formative romantic experience, it changes everything.
Because
It
you're
changes,
like, wow, this is real.
yeah, because
I like boys.
yeah, you're years
I'm
behind
telling
you're years behind everyone else. Like because you go through school, like so, like
Oh yeah.
and then suddenly you're like, song lyrics sound different.
Yeah.
Films, you react to films differently.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not. But like I said, I've had very sexual relationships, obviously, with black guys over the years. But I wouldn't say I have a preference for black men.
Yeah.
I think that the only funny you mentioned Italy. I have been guilty, and I'm going to be completely transparent here. If I was going to fetishize anyone, and we talk about Americans as well, which is funny. I really fetishize American Italians.
Oh.
The ones from like the Bronx.
Yes.
Yeah, Tony.
God,
Bronx, Rhode Island, New Jersey.
New Jersey.
I know I had a real thing for it, and like if I could, that was when I was in my 20s. And I don't know where that came from, but that was a real. If I'm being
Yeah,
honest,
the mafia is sexy.
no, I did.
Sexy, I'm not
If
gonna
I saw a black low hairline,
Yeah.
and like I'd be like legs open.
Literally.
No, but literally, I always say if I don't end up with a black man,
Italian.
black American, it's probably going to be Italian or Spanish because they're very passionate. I feel like they're just as passionate as like. Because obviously I'm Ghanaian,
Yeah.
so we have the same intensity and passion and similar.
Ghanaians are not passionate.
Yeah, are you crazy?
Okay.
Have you ever dated a Ghanaian?
I've dealt with a few.
You haven't dated one.
Kojo and
Ghanaians
Wande, would you say that when you're dating, would you say that dating white men, they're more emotionally available, more romantically available than black men? Because in my experience, when I used to date interracially, I think white men were more willing to open up faster than black men. And I don't know if that's because they have less trauma or I don't know your experience with that.
I think in a way I feel like white men I feel like it's more structured, so it's like they date for an end goal, whereas with black men I find it that it's more so let's go with the flow and see what happens, but let's not claim each other because we still want to do whatever we want to do.
Don't hold hands in public,
but then
don't kiss in the
you
club.
can't leave someone else because you're mine, but then you can hook up with someone else because we're not together really. Whereas with white men it's like we're seeing each other. Either we're open or we're exclusive. This is what it is.
Yeah, that's me. That's very
do you know
me.
what I mean?
Yeah,
These are the,
I can cop to that.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So you know
there's a plan.
You know what's going on. But with black men, I mean, this is personally with black men, it's kind of like, what are we doing? Are we together? Are we not together?
I'm happy you even say that because I feel like the reason is because a lot of black men, they don't see a future in their sexuality. Like some of them, they haven't told their parents, they haven't told their family. So there's like, what's the point? Let's just have fun while we have fun. Whereas with other races, especially white men,
this is referring to openly gay black men as well?
Yeah, because it's like, even though maybe they're like, like me, for example, yes, I'm openly gay, my family knows I'm gay, but sometimes in my head, I always think like, when I get married, is my family going to be there? Are they going to be there with me? Like, do you know what I mean?
That's
like,
intense. That's very intense to carry that.
Exactly.
Like,
so it's like, and I feel like because of the way we were brought up, African, Caribbean, whatever, we don't, even if we want to believe in the happily ever after, sometimes we don't trust it.
Yeah.
And it's just like we're being delusional. But I feel like with other races, white men especially, they have that grace to see themselves at the end of the aisle. Like I know it's hard for them as well, like coming out and everything, but yeah.
But they also have that. I mean, I'm not trying to generalize. I'm sure many black families also have that kind of example. But I feel like there's a lot more white families that have that example of like less trauma in a way.
Yeah.
Like as opposed to like black families, especially when it comes to sexuality, because more time, I was always so envious of like my like back in Italy when I first started dabbling with being gay. I came across other gay guys that were white and they were received with so much like love and like so much appreciation. It wasn't until I met Wandy where you said that your mom was like super like accepting of who he was. And I was so envious of them because I was like, oh, I wish my family could embrace me in the same way. Whereas in my family, I remember it was like kind of like, why are you walking like that? Why are you walking like that? People are saying this. Do you know what I mean? So I feel like that also affects dating, because then you do have that trauma. Like you kind of still carry a bit of shame for what you're doing, even though you're out.
Yeah. Even that as well. Sorry, babe. Like even that as well. It's like when you date outside your race, for example. Like if my ex was white, so when I met his family, it was like I didn't feel. I already knew that I was going into a safe space.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't feel like
defensive.
I didn't feel like
they're gonna judge you.
I'm gonna meet his family and his family's gonna be. You
That's
know,
funny you say that.
Like who's your friend?
Yeah,
like they knew from the jump that that was my boyfriend.
I've had partners like I've had like 2 serious partners in my family I've like really spent time with, and both of my ex-partners really like were excited to embrace my family. And I did think like, I wonder like if that's
this is the real, like they get that experience.
But I feel like I don't want to bring that up because that's such a loaded thing to bring up. Like, oh, do you love my family because like they welcome me, and maybe you covet a part of that. And like, how do you address that without sounding like such a piece of shit?
Yeah,
you know. But obviously, I want to understand. But I've learned kind of with like for some men I've dated that like you just don't really touch on it unless they want to talk about it. And I'm not someone who I don't want to push someone to talk about trauma. That's like, yeah, we want to understand our partners 100%, but there's areas of our partners where you just need to leave it alone and wait till they come to you.
Absolutely.
Because I don't think it's fair to like, oh, do you want to talk about your trauma? I've just cooked, like let's talk about what makes you feel like shit when you go home. Like I don't want to be that person in my partner's life, but I'm also like, he knows that he can call me with whatever.
So I have one more question. Again, about interracial dating. Why do you think some white, like, do you think the reason why some white gays decide to only go for black men? Because I came across a Jack profile on Twitter saying black only. Do you think they go for black men because they wouldn't, basically they don't fit the standard for a white man? So they're kind of settling for what they think would appreciate them. Kind of like what they say about white women that are like overweight that end up with a
Jamaican man.
Because 100%. I mean,
it's true because for their standard, because obviously in white beauty standards you're supposed to be slim and
petite,
tall,
pretty,
and whatever. Whereas in black standards you're supposed to be more thick. So then white women that are more curvy, they force themselves to be into black guys because that's where they feel appreciated and loved. And do you know what I mean?
I 100%. And like obviously I have a lot more provocative content online. I have a lot of people like kind of engaging with me, and you see a lot of it, and it's like I see a lot of people who perhaps will turn to, can just talk from my perspective here, they will turn to cross-dressing or being trans adjacent just to get like kind of like to have an element of sex appeal, because there is such a crossover, especially online. Like, I mean, anyone who's been on Twitter and like, you know, the dark side of Twitter,
of course,
which we all know about, you know, there is such a crossover between like the fetishization of black men and cross-dressing.
Yes.
And, you know, that is a very toxic area. And I get a lot of people commenting on my stuff, like, you know, BNWO.
What's that mean?
Black New World Order.
Okay.
It's like a really racist, fetishist, like reduced, like let's reject white guys, let's stick to black men only. BBC, QOS, like Queen of Spades, and then people get like the tattoo of like the I
never even knew about it.
It's huge, and they always flock to me, and I'm like, fuck off. I'm always going on my soapbox about it.
I'm sorry, and these are white men?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and there's like a fetish for like BNWO, which is black new. It's a huge.
Go figure.
Oh my god, I've never even heard of that.
I mean, I would say look it up, but don't, because it's probably not going to be very pleasant. But like,
one thing I would say, I'm always very surprised when this might sound silly, but I'm always surprised when a white guy actually wants to top me.
Yeah, because you're expected to be.
I'm like, oh, you like all this ass? You know what to do with all this ass?
Do you know, sorry, you just made something click in my head. I've always, because I'm a very sexual person. Like I work with sex shops and sex toys, and I do like, I'm a whore basically. But
we're all whores here.
Yeah, but good, we're in good company. But it's really just made something click. I've always like when I'm like in bed with a guy if he's black in the past, he's always been shocked if I've gone near his butt. And you just made me realize like, oh, okay,
They weren't
because maybe
expecting that.
he was expecting me to see him as like a dildo.
Yeah.
Which I do say as a joke sometimes, but like, and I was like, no, I mean, like with my partner, for example, like I like you, like that's part of you. I mean, obviously I'm gonna
Literally.
We all
Explore.
really need to heal as a community, like black, white, the gay community. We really need to heal. We need to embrace the fact that we do not fit the heteronormative lifestyles. Like we can be
that's the bottom
masculine.
line,
That's the bottom line.
That's the
like
bottom
you can
line.
be. We don't fit their standards. We need to make our own standards, and we need to embrace
and be open.
and be open. Like be open to new experiences.
Yeah, and also this, I think the word coon gets thrown around too loosely.
Oh,
I'm so sorry.
that's one of my favorite words, though.
Let's stop shaming people.
I hear it.
We live in a melting pot. Let's stop shaming people for dating people they got on with. Like I don't think whenever like literally sometimes people they will have a white partner and they will be scared to like walk around with them with their friends, or like even yesterday when we went to the club and I was like, oh, like these girls were giving me evils, and you said maybe they thought that you was judging them, which God forbid I would never, because obviously I was seeing this guy. Do you know what I mean? So the whole
Plus, we don't give a fuck.
yeah, the whole coon word, it gets thrown around too loosely. Like someone dated.
I think someone would only be a coon if you're refusing to date other black people.
Yes, that's
so
it.
if
That's
you're,
the only time.
that's it. But like if you're dating interracially, you're dating white, you're dating whatever. But like if you're saying that I'm not dating other black people, I'm only then you're a coon. I'm sorry.
But it's true, because I feel like if you feel like you have to put down your own people,
Like exclude your own
and then
race.
look down on your own people, that's where it becomes an issue.
that's when it's an issue.
Where
100%.
where you start where the toxicity comes in.
Of course.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
But you can date a fucking tree for all I care.
Literally.
I don't give a shit. But it's like when you start making it your whole personality, that's where it gets like
A bit weird.
Oh,
it gets weird. Yeah.
Anyways, thank you guys so much for joining us today. And
Thank you so much.
I'm talking this is taboo.
And thank you, Topher, for
Thank
coming.
you, Topher.
No,
Yes,
thanks for
it was a
having
very
me.
deep
You're amazing.
And
conversation.
insightful
I
Very
appreciate you guys
insightful.
having me.
Honestly, like you're just
And cancel my
so
therapist
calming.
now. I feel like.
Literally, this is we always say like this is our
Well,
therapy.
this is kind of therapy for us.
This is our
anyway.
therapy.
No, it is.
Yeah,
It's
we
nice
just
to
kinda
hear
lay
that.
all bare and
You
kind of
made me think of it, like I said, even that thing about butts. Like you
Yeah,
made me like
100%.
that's why it's important. to
Eat
talk
more
about it.
black ass.